A long time coming. The 87 Saints. A special look at the evolution of New Orleans' first playoff team. Brought to you by your Louisiana Nissan dealers, Meineke Mufflers, Benson Automotive World, and by your local Hyundai dealers. Now your hosts, Ro Brown and Ed Daniels.
Good evening, I'm Ro Brown, and welcome to what was a long time coming, the 87 Saints.
In the next half hour, we'll review what happened, why it happened, and look back into the early years of the franchise. The only time the Saints were really fun. That's up until now.
You know, in any success story, there are highs and lows. That's life. The 87 Saints season was full of ups and downs. Fortunately, there were more good times than bad, for a change. However, there will forever be at least 6 points of the season etched in the minds of all red-blooded Hoodats. The surprise season began with a surprise. A 28-21 victory over defending AFC Central champion Cleveland, keyed by the defense with 2 back-breaking safeties. After a loss to the Eagles, the players found themselves suspended in a bad dream. It was called the NFL Players' Strike, and nobody won. Or so we thought. The Saints' replacement team was one of the league's best. The shining star, local boy John Fourcade, whose 82-yard touchdown pass to Mike Waters set a club record against the Rams. 37-10, Saints replacements over the Rams replacements. They would go 2-1 during the strike. The Saints stood at 3-2 overall. But they didn't stay on strike. And when the team returned October 25th against San Francisco, Morton Anderson's 52-yard field goal attempt late in the game fell just short. The Saints came up 2 points short. Jim Morris' fuse even shorter.
Could have, would have, should have is the difference of what I'm talking about. The good teams don't come in and say could have. They get it done. All right? It's that simple. I'm tired of saying could have, should have, would have.
Little did we know it would be the last defeat of the year. 3 weeks later, it was on to San Francisco. The special team sparkled. The Saints were good enough. No coulda, shoulda, woulda, they did it. Morton Anderson won it with a field goal in the final 2 minutes, 26-24 Saints. November 29th, the Saints went to Pittsburgh at 7-3 with a 4-game winning streak. Thanks to the goal line stand, they got the monkey off their backs, assuring themselves of a winning season for the first time in the team's history.
God, excuse me, man. It's been a long time.
1 week later, Mardi Gras in December, 44-34 over Tampa Bay. The Saints are playoff bound, and their coach admits it.
Yeah, you bet we are. You bet we are. When you get there, you are a playoff team, and the New Orleans Saints, 1987, are a playoff team.
With all due respect to this man, we'll be back with a look at the real boss of this football team.
That's coming up after this.
There's a void, like Merlin Olsen for years never got in the playoffs, but I'm happy for him. A lot of guys have animosity or jealousy of him. I'm tickled to death for him.
Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League had a fight with one of the players. The youngest member of the coaching staff was a 30-year-old named Jim Finks. As the junior member of the staff, he was told, "You're the general manager." He has been one of the outstanding executives in pro football ever since.
So, Jim, welcome on board, partner.
January 14th, 1986, the day Saints owner Tom Benson hired Jim Finks as president and general manager. Finally, a man with a track record for success. Before his hair turned gray, he made a perennial contender of the Minnesota Vikings of the 1960s. He laid the foundation for the Chicago Bears' first world title in 22 years. His last job in sports, before working for a public relations firm, was with the Chicago Cubs Baseball Club during that team's successful 1984 campaign. He thought he'd had enough of sports, but he was wrong.
I found out the complete year that I was out, I should get back in because I was too young not to do anything, and I thank God for giving me this opportunity because it's been a very rewarding year and a half, or almost 2 years now, and my wife understands why I had to get back in.
Just itchy? You just missed it?
Yeah, I just missed it. It's something that I feel comfortable doing. I've done virtually all my life, and I think I have reasonable credentials and skills in doing it.
The collection of baseball caps in his Saints Drive office tells the depth of the man. From a Pro Bowl quarterback with the Steelers to coaching and front office positions in the Canadian Football League to his present job with the Saints. His management style, hands-on.
I think I can cope with the pressure on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's important for anybody in this role because you have highs and lows, and then you're on the middle ground, and I think you have to be pretty consistent. I can't afford the luxury of becoming too emotional. Even though I might be churning in my stomach, I can't afford the luxury of letting people know that I'm not in control because I think that's important. We call Joe to find out how he...
To work in the NFL is great. To work for a guy like Jim Finks is just, it's the epitome. It's working for the best possible GM in the National Football League. There hasn't been a day that's gone by since I've been here where I haven't picked up a little different way to do something, or just from his experience.
His experience as a player has been helpful. However, his reputation with some of the players is tight, with the purse strings.
I try to pay our players on their contribution and their value to the New Orleans Saints, and if the Giants want to do something with their players, that's their prerogative. I'm sorry to learn I have the reputation of being tight. But
You've never heard that?
Well, yes, I have, and it doesn't disturb me, but I think it's not factual.
It is factual that winning seems to follow Jim Finks. And while Benson boogies and pays the bills, this youngster of 60 years quietly runs the show and asks, what's next?
I think I have a few battles left.
You hear it in nearly every community. Our fans are the best in the country. With 20 years of faithful support, Saints fans have proof to back that claim up. So what's a typical Who Dat like? Try Yancey and Gwen Roberts, married December 5th, spent their honeymoon in the Superdome, December 6th, watching the Saints wrap up a playoff spot.
It'll be another good game. I can feel it already.
It's gonna be a good game. I'm ready. You're not gonna let us down. You're gonna...
What'd you do with the tickets?
Oh my God, what'd I do with the tickets?
Yeah, hold on. I got them.
All right.
That's one of those kind of honeymoons where, you know, you've been waiting so long to see a winning Saints season, you can't miss it. You gotta get here when they're winning. We've been in section 633 for the last 2 years. They're great.
It's a great
They're great.
section.
Come on, Martin, stick it in there. Bam. Yeah. The thing that gets me about the Saints now is the fact that, you know, they had a lot of good players that have gone back and forth through their hands, but it looks like they've got the management and the coaches now that are really putting it together and making a team that is producing and not a team that's making excuses. What they're doing now is just, it's like watching moths turn into butterflies, you know?
When we return, a chat with the first Saints #1 draft pick and a visit by one of his contemporaries.
I certainly have great memories of New Orleans, particularly with the new management, new ownership, and Moore is a good friend of mine too, and I think he's doing a terrific job.
Are solid pieces of work by a staff hardworking and thoroughly prepared. Saints drafts weren't always such in the past. Many #1s never made it, and the lack of success in a Saints uniform had a spillover effect on the Saints' first pick. But now Les Kelly is on the rebound. Back home in Alabama, about an hour's drive north of Birmingham.
It hardly seems like 20 years ago when the Saints made Les Kelly their first draft pick. Big things were expected, but 4 years later, Les Kelly was to drive right out of the Saints picture to Denver, where cracked vertebrae in the neck gave Kelly a failing physical and a ticket out of football.
I question myself as to whether maybe all of us ought to be on the losing team at least once to know what it's like.
Les Kelly's eyes may be glued to the long and narrow roads of the Alabama countryside, but as he went back, you could see his mind was racing. Much of what Kelly remembers isn't good, yet the memories are so close, he could reach out and grab them. Then and now, Saints fans are a group Kelly gladly pulls in and keeps close to his heart.
But I can't imagine, knowing what I know now, I can't imagine any town being as prime for a professional football team as New Orleans was. It was crazy. It was crazy and it was wonderful.
Life in the Alabama Hill Country was good to Les Kelly, a star at Coleman High, on 2 national championship teams at Alabama. But as a pro, life was much different. He was away from home and in a different world. Primarily a runner for Bear Bryant, Alice Kelly's son possessed the good looks and eyes of determination. Kelly was thought to be part of the Saints running stable, but soon was a full-time linebacker.
There just wasn't a whole lot of teaching going on. You were put out there and it seemed like expected to know everything that there was to know about playing linebacker. And I wasn't, or I didn't know it. Primarily as not a result, but maybe a spin-off of my football experience in New Orleans. I went through a divorce, ended up broke, owing a lot of money, and considered bankruptcy at the time, but probably didn't even have enough money to get bankrupt.
This is the kind of place where a man can contemplate and pull his life together. Kelly did that. Now baseball coach at Wallace State Junior College in his hometown.
I'm satisfied with who I am and what I'm doing. Like I said, I could be probably making a lot more money than I'm making right now, but it would not be as rewarding.
Like the new Saints, Les Kelly has his priorities in order. Although he says he's not an avid Sunday football watcher, he'll be glued to his TV set when the Saints make that first playoff appearance, remembering what it was like 20 years ago and how he, like the franchise, has bounced back from sometimes bitter disappointment.
I wish I was on the team. I wish I was on this team, Not because they're women, not because you want to jump on the bandwagon necessarily, but because those people in New Orleans have waited for so long. And I hope the Saints win by 100.
Although the Saints didn't win a whole lot at Tulane Stadium, those days were certainly full of fond memories. They were great times. One man who remembers former Saints center Joe Wendrahowski, number 54, a man who is now a successful businessman, productive, bubbles with personality, and a guy I always tease as saying they changed the holding penalty from 15 to 10 yards when Joe is in the league. Joe, welcome to the show.
Wendy, you heard Les. Do you wish you were on this team?
Oh God, I could stay with this team and be with it for about 20 years, Ro. I'm really happy for the guys, and finally it's come, the fans too have been sitting there almost like players too. Since I left the team in '69 and sitting out there in old Tulane Stadium and now in the Superdome, I'm one of them, and they finally got rewarded.
Joe, you have season tickets. Now, when you watch the games, something that Danny said that caught me is I don't know, he said some of the guys are jealous. Some of them are happy. Some of the old guys are jealous about this team's success. Do you think how do you feel about that?
I talked to a bunch of guys, and they seem to all be really happy. You don't take that away from the man. The competition is there. Maybe down inside, you say, "Oh God, man, would I love to be there?" And I've always wanted to wear that old Super Bowl ring, and these guys have got a real good chance of it. I think that's you play for different stages. I played for just for a lot of fun and everything, and. The competition of being in there and going all the way to the Super Bowl. But I don't, I love these guys. I know a bunch of the ball players, and man, I say, hey guys, all the way to San Diego, baby, you know. Brent and I are going to San Diego with y'all.
We should mention this jacket here. That's the that's what you want to travel with in '67.
Is this a relic? I wore this in '60.
You can smell the mothballs.
You can kind of, you can smell New Orleans on this dude, right? But yeah, this is what we used to wear on the road trips. We all dressed up and everything, had our fleur-de-lis ties and everything, and we were all real nice, and then you know, looked like a team or whatever.
Joe, quickly, how good are the Saints now? How far do you think they'll go in the playoffs?
It's a game by game. I think they can go all the way. I mean, they're the hot team of the NFL. They got a lot of steam. I'd be scared to play them. I would be, you know, really. They got some young people. They come flying. They come tough, and the offense is it's climbing. It just keeps getting better. You know, their team the best kicking game in the league. I'd be scared than heck to play these guys.
Joe, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Joe. You know, we talked to former LSU Tiger Henry Thomas via satellite today from Minneapolis. In a moment, that conversation with the rookie nose tackle.
Well, I think what you had was basically a ship without a master, and you had people that just didn't know exactly what they were doing. Nothing against Dick Gordon, but he was an astronaut, not a football man.
Expect straight talk from your knee.
Brilliant career at LSU as a nose tackle. Henry Thomas, he figured he'd be a pretty good pro, but not many expect him to make it. Now he is a starter for the Minnesota Vikings headed into the playoffs.
Henry Thomas joins us via satellite in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Henry, don't you find it kind of ironic that your first playoff game as a pro is against the New Orleans Saints?
No, I kind of like it. It's strange, but I get to go back to what I call a home crowd, you know, in New Orleans, and I know a lot of LSU fans will be there, and hopefully they still remember me.
Henry, you know, you looked good in the Thanksgiving Day game where you defeated Dallas. You've lost 3 of your last 4. Not the way you want to go into the playoffs. What's the problem?
Well, it's hard to say. There's a number of things, and basically I feel that it's just the attitude, going into the game knowing you have to do it, and once you jump onto a big lead trying to get conservative and you play scared because you don't want to make a mistake or something in that area, and we just have to keep that emotion that we start every game with and just go on and not worry about making a mistake. Just play ball until the last gun goes off.
Henry, what happened in the Washington game? You guys were up by 10 and everybody kissed you out of the playoffs after that. They said you choked and shouldn't be in the playoffs. Your thoughts on the game itself and the idea that the Vikings backed into the playoffs?
Backed in, crawled in, slid in, whatever. We are in the playoffs. There's no other team that's in the playoffs that had to come over the adversities that we had to come over. We came back from the strike. We were down with our replacement team had lost all 3 of their ball games, and we had to overcome that. And to be able to be where we are, we feel we've overcome a lot of adversities. Although in the last few ball games we haven't played the best of our abilities, we're going to go into the playoffs not with just the fact of being satisfied with being in the playoffs. We're going in to go all the way to the Super Bowl.
Henry, analyze the Saints for me. Now, be honest. Where do you think they're vulnerable?
Vulnerable? Well, that's hard to say because they have a great defense. Their guys are playing like never before. I mean, they're really putting pressure on their opposition. Their offense, they run the ball better than almost any team in the NFL. And I feel their weaknesses is maybe the youth of the team, you know. Maybe they'll just be satisfied. They're playing hungry now, but they're in the playoffs, and I think they may be vulnerable. I think we can beat them like with the pass, basically, because their run defense is so tough. And offensively, they have a good package. They have great receivers, and Eric Martin, and then the running backs, Reuben Mays and Dalton Hilliard. We're just going to have to be able to play our own football and just be aggressive with them for 60 minutes.
Henry, on that field Sunday, you will be tackling Eric Martin and Dalton Hilliard. What will you say to them? Got you?
They may be watching now, Henry.
Just say, hi, guys. I don't know what I'd say to them because when we played them in our first preseason game, it was
was great to see them again and to play against them. It was like playing. It was almost like playing together because they've always been on offense and I've always been on defense. But this time I just got to see them while we both were on the field.
Henry, thanks a lot. The crowd will not be with you on Sunday, but they still will remember you. A fine performer at LSU, and good luck to you, huh?
Thank you very much.
Tonight, we close our show with a tribute to the first winning coach in Saints history, Jim Mora.
It was a long time coming. We're glad it's here. Thanks for watching.
Oh, listen, we're going 12-3. 12-3, I've been telling everybody that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do.
I got to get off these receivers. It's getting to be bad, isn't it? Man, none of them even talk to me anymore out there. I walk by them and say hi, they just kind of growl at me.
He's real strict disciplinarian and all, but you know exactly what he expects of you at all times, so it makes it very easy in that respect.
We're not good enough yet. We got a long way to go. We got a lot of work to do. We're close, and close don't mean, and you can put that on TV for me. I thought I said spit.
No.
That's what I read in USA Today.
He hasn't changed a bit. He's winning as usual, and he's the same guy.
See, I don't believe in. I don't believe that. They didn't back into the playoffs. They won 8-7. And qualified because of their overall record. They didn't back into anybody. That's a ridiculous statement to say anybody backed in. Yeah, you bet we are. You bet we are. When you get there, you are a playoff team, and the New Orleans Saints, 1987, are a playoff team.
A long time coming. The 87 Saints has been brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers. Benson Automotive World, Meineke Mufflers, and by your Louisiana Nissan dealers.